Well, hey, Alex, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How you doing?
Feeling good, feeling good. Really excited about being here today, Scott. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I just want, number one, to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're running a pretty large business now, but it didn't start that way. And we're going to talk about that. But also just wanted to let people know, like you and I are both also in Pat Flynn's accelerator program, which is where we kind of met in person. And let me just say, we can go into it. I had David Young on, and you're our SEO queen over there. And so we'll probably touch on that, but I just want to thank you for coming on. It's been awesome getting to know you better, but I know that you're going to drop some value bombs here today. So if you guys are thinking about starting or growing your existing business, I don't care if it's just digital products or if it's content or if it's physical products, you're going to want to stay tuned for this one. So Alex, now that I've kind of really put you up there,
No pressure on my end.
there's no pressure at all. Why don't you just tell people a little bit about you, where you come from, and kind of a little bit of your backstory, but then we'll get really deep into kind of how you've built this empire, really, of the travel fashion girl. So go ahead, take it away.
Well, I'm from Los Angeles originally, and I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. So I have a background in the fashion industry, and I got an awesome corporate job in my early 20s. They actually hired me when I was 20. They thought I was older. Wow. Because I made my resume look really good. And I had this job, and, I always have to tell people I loved my job. I had nothing against my corporate job, but in 2008, recession stuff happened. So they pushed me out of the position. I ended up leaving, and I had said, if I ever quit my job, my dream job here, I'm going to take 3 months off to travel. Mm-hmm. So those 3 months turned into, now it's like over a decade later, and I'm still kind of traveling. But halfway or a couple of years after I started, I was tired of dragging around a bunch of stuff I didn't need. And I tried to go online to look for resources for women or just for travelers in general on how to downsize their luggage, their bags. And I couldn't find anything. And the stuff that I did find seemed to be geared towards a male traveler, where, they were recommending that I take 3 quick-dry tees, a couple of convertible pants, and 3 pairs of underwear I can flip inside out. That's not quite what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I set off, and, in 2011, I started talking to other girls in hostels and guest houses because I was a budget backpacker traveler. And I found out they were also having the same problems. They had packed all the wrong things. They didn't have the information they needed. So I set off and interviewed for about a year. I researched and I interviewed all these girls on the road. And in August 2012, I launched Travel Fashion Girl, where I showed people the things that I learned about how to pack lighter. And it was started off just as me trying to downsize my own luggage, and it ended up being well received instantly and has just kind of taken on a life of its own now.
Yeah, it really has. 1 million unique visitors per month. Insane. Congratulations on that too. I know you just hit that and you were pretty stoked about that. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you. It was a long time coming. People always ask me, how long did it take you? And I was doing SEO since day one. So we actually grew really quickly at 35,000 visitors in the first 6 months, monthly visitors in the first 6 months. But inching to that million mark was such a big goal, and we finally made it. So it was very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting, and it proves that hard work pays off. You just got to stay at it. And I just want to let people know, like, Alex is someone that puts in the work. Like, you are just, at our meetings, she was just typing away and banging off notes for other people, not even herself. So giving and so willing to share, which I really, really appreciate. And you're a wealth of information. So guys, like I said, you definitely want to pay attention to this episode, because we're probably gonna have to come back on, because there's so much that we can unpack here. I want to go back though in time a little bit, okay? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, it sounds like you just started backpacking. You're like, I see this need. I'm going to start a blog, and then but where did the light bulb go on for you that there was a potential for you to get traffic and then monetize that traffic? Because you don't just wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to blog, and I know that I can get AdSense, and then I can maybe get Mediavine, and then maybe I can grow to AdThrive. Like, how does that happen that you get this light bulb that you're like, I'm going to try to turn this into an income?
in August of 2012, there really wasn't that information. So it wasn't, there was no, AdSense, but there wasn't really a lot of information on monetizing a blog, and it really wasn't a thing. I mean, it's just been the past couple of years where companies or people are actually kind of taking bloggers more seriously. So when I went into it, I really started it for the sole reason of helping women avoid my mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I had this feeling that I needed to do it, that, taking a step back, we'll go back a little further. I've always been someone that's always looked for opportunities,
mm-hmm.
and not necessarily, I don't know, whether I was 6 years old,
mm-hmm.
9 years old, 13, I've always had my own businesses growing up, and it's always been, that's popular, nobody's selling that, I'm going to sell it. And with Trouble Fashion Girl, there was nothing online that had this information. Even now, there's still not a lot of resources. So there wasn't information on what to pack, and there wasn't information for women and topics that were relevant to things that I wanted to know. And it was a long-term traveler, so I wanted things that were practical, not just frivolous and pretty and fashiony. I wanted things that were practical, they were going to be long-lasting, but I also wanted to feel like a girl. So first I saw the opportunity, and where there's an opportunity, I think naturally that's always a good basis for a business. Mm-hmm. But I have to be very honest, and I didn't start it with the intention of making it a business. I kind of thought, well, if I could make a couple $100s a week to maintain my budget travels, cool. That would be wonderful. And, I actually early on started making money because the website grew so quickly, and sponsored posts, to gain link juice were a big way to earn money back then. It was really easy. So early on, there was an opportunity to monetize. So that was exciting, but I'm in it for the long game. And the sponsored posts back then, and even now, that's not a viable business model. So within the first 6 months, so 6 months into it, my mentor at the time, who really just took me under his wing because he saw that I had an opportunity and he wanted to help me. He didn't charge me. He just wanted to help me grow. And he started showing me there was the potential, of ways that I could monetize the website. And one particular way was affiliates. And it became very organic because I was talking about products and I wasn't linking to them. And the people were emailing me just saying, hey, where can I get this? Why can't you put a link? They were even angry with me. So I was almost doing them a disservice by not linking to things. Wow. And little did I know, by helping them, it would also help me establish what is a now crucial element of my business.
One thing I want to highlight here, or actually I want to bring to the surface, which you shared with us, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind, but if you do mind, don't share it. But what was the little side business you had that you were selling stuff out of your trunk? Let's talk about that for a second, because that's a great story, because it just goes to show you that you had that entrepreneurial instinct even back then, right? And I think that you just see opportunity, but you don't just see it, you act on it, right?
Well, yes, I actually got in trouble with the dean in my high school. I went to an all-girls Catholic high school in Los Angeles. And I got in trouble with the dean because she caught me selling clothes out of the trunk of my car one day after school. And she had the audacity to come up to me and accuse me of, well, one, I got in trouble. And two, she said, where do you get the clothes anyway? Do you steal them? And I'm like, are you kidding me? How and why? Yeah. And I explained to her, I'm like, this is a private school. There's a lot of disposable income here. So I go to the wholesale district, buy clothing wholesale, and resell it here. I'm making $300 in half an hour. Seriously. Why wouldn't I?
That is so awesome. So yeah.
So my message, Mrs. Medina, look at me now.
Yes, there you go. There you go. I absolutely love that story when you shared it. I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Alex did, because that's what she would do. You've seen an opportunity there. You're like, there's a lot of disposable income. These girls will spend, mommy and daddy will pay for it, and I'll just bring it over and sell it out of the back of my trunk. That's awesome. Okay, so you didn't start this thing necessarily to make money, maybe a few $100 to support your travels a little bit, right? Your backpacking and stuff. When did the light bulb go off that you were like, this could turn into something pretty large, something that could be more than that could be my full-time gig? When does that light bulb go off?
A year into it, we were carrying on traveling. And one of the ways that I was traveling for 4 years or so full time before I started my blog, before I started the website. And the way I would make money is I'd go back home and I'd work seasonal jobs as a promotional tour manager. And so in early 2013, I went back home and worked another one of these gigs. And right that summer, I was offered a big gig, a really cool opportunity. And I turned it down. And I turned it down because I thought, you know what? I want to give this blog a shot. What if I do what I hear some people are, I've started hearing about people making money online, travel blogging and doing stuff like that. And I thought, what if I make it my full-time job? If I'm putting in 40 hours a week or, putting in that dedication, treating it as a job, could it work? So it was within, a year later, and it started I thought I'd try it. And what was the worst that could happen? I go back home and get another job and then go traveling again. Right. So that's kind of how it started, and it carried on like that for, I don't know how long. It just happened so quickly. I honestly, for the first 2 years, Scott, I felt like I was, just drowning. It grew so quickly. It was hard to keep up. Wow. And I think it just grew faster than I even knew. It became a business before I even realized it. And although I was an entrepreneur, I think I naturally, ended up turning into business because I was an entrepreneur. Sure. But it just was always growth. We've pretty much almost doubled in growth every year since we started.
It's incredible. So what does it look like when you're building this thing out? What's it look like for you on like a daily, weekly basis? Like, are you like, okay, now it's content. Now I need to get on a schedule. I need to start producing these. I start to do maybe long tail keyword research. Like, when does that stuff like start becoming like part of your regular, routine?
So I was working like 20 hours a day since I started. I don't think I slept for the first 2 months after I started the blog.
That's great.
I think literally, I know it sounds like, I'll always tell people, I know it just looks like there's a post on the website, but I was publishing 5 to 7 articles a week. Wow. Because in theory, especially back then with SEO, if you're doing one keyword per blog post, which was, dated best practices, but if you have one keyword per blog post, the more blog posts you have, the more keywords you have, the more traffic. And the more traffic, the more potential for revenue as well. Sure. Naturally, with affiliates, I didn't do AdSense back then. It was strictly with affiliates, and also to garner brand interest. Sure. So then I started looking, what content? I started paying attention to the content that was really that people wanted, but also what was the content that was that had more revenue opportunities as well. And I think it really took a couple of years for this to become a very strategic everyday plan. But now we are incredibly strategic. Everything that we do, we look at it we analyze data, we analyze our topics, we analyze our numbers, crunching anything from SEO to keywords to data, our Amazon data, associates data, affiliate data, to determine what opportunities there are. Back then, I always prioritized the topics that I wanted to talk about. I did what I called reverse SEO. Okay. And I got criticized for it because people said, that's wrong. You should be writing for Google. And I said, no, I'm writing for my readers. Right. And then so I would write the article that I wanted based on the topics that I wanted. And then I choose a related keyword for it. So I was always writing for people. And even though that was weird back then, now it's best practice. And, now, currently that is SEO best practice, is writing for people and finding a keyword that works for that, or many keywords. So throughout that, I think that's how it's the paying attention to what people wanted. Not at first, I wasn't looking at the data. At first, it was just listening to the readers, listening to the audience, listening to the conversations. That's where a lot of the ideas for the blog posts and consequently products also started, is listening to what they wanted. If people keep asking for the same thing, I'm going to write an article about that, and that article became big, and then we can monetize it and then spin off more content based on the same topic. But it's all very organic.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I think it's a lot of consistency. I think you showed up. I think that's key. Not every post was going to hit, right? But you knew that, it's kind of like you're going to put the stuff out there, and you're going to help and serve the market that you're trying to help and serve. I think that's what it comes down to. And you did a really good job. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not looking at the data and going, well, that post did good a year and a half ago. Maybe we should do an update on that and maybe bring some more attention, and that stuff's, I think that's basic knowledge, but also it's being strategic about that stuff. And as you went forward, let's move into, and because I talk a lot about building, number one, like traffic, but then also your email list. I also talk about looking at the data and then seeing if there's an opportunity to create a private label product or a physical product, which you've since done. I want to hear a little bit about that, but let's start with the email list. How important is it now, and do you feel it is in the future to have communications with people on an email list?
100%. I mean, I wish I would have started my email list sooner. And I think in the beginning, it's really easy to overcomplicate it. Oh, what will I say? What do they want to hear? And now it's more about building that relationship. And if I would have just realized that that was the key ingredient, just to like you said, just to show up. And just to build that relationship with them, because it doesn't really matter, what you have is what you might be selling, but also when you've taken the time to build a relationship with them, share information, again, that's valuable, maybe be vulnerable, share your own stories, build, then in the email, that if I would have just done that from the very beginning, then that would have been so powerful. The day that I decided to start doing that, it's been then since I've been able to really create these relationships with my audience much deeper. So when it comes to business, there's always, I know that's where I have the loyal, the raving fans. Sure. And if I were to publish something or share something, they will always respond. So it's now a bigger part of my business than it was in the beginning. But yeah, you have to have your people, you have to be able to contact them, whether it's letting them know, hey, I'm no longer in Facebook. Facebook shut me down. Follow me here. Right. Or it's, I have something new going on. Or, if for me, it's pivoting my business. I went from talking about packing. Now I'm selling products. So continuing that conversation to where you're going. And that's how I'm seeing my email list right now. It's the people that will grow with me and go with me as I grow myself.
No, I love that. I hear a lot of people, and we've been hearing it for years, but it's still, email's dead. No one's opening their emails. I mean, I disagree. I know you disagree because you have people that open your emails. Does that mean that you don't go on Facebook and communicate? No, you use that too. But to me, the email list is still, to me, a core communication channel. Because like you said, I had that happen just recently. My podcast got de-indexed, and I had to let people know, like, hey, the episode's not going to publish. Here's why. But I was able to get that message out. I know Pat had the same thing happen to him. He had something happen to his website that it went down, and he was able to communicate with his email list and let them know that, hey, my site went down, or my server, whatever, go to the YouTube channel and I'll have a reason why, or I'll keep you updated or whatever. I think it's so important, of that.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if 10% read it, 20, 30. It's not about, 100% of people, but it's being able to reach the people that are your fans, the people that really care about what you have to say. They're going to open it up. And if that group of people open it up, they're going to be the ones that will share it. They're going to be the ones going to spread your message. So you have to keep that relationship with them. And if you're just depending, really have to own it. And I think you had mentioned previously about, is the blog dead? Well, I don't think so. I definitely have to say I'm one of the most successful travel bloggers out there. Yeah. So it's not, and that's because it's something that I own. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everything else it's not something that I own. Every day I worry, my group, right? I have my group in Facebook. I'd like to move them, but it's also convenient for them. They don't want to be moved. But what if one day Facebook says, yeah, groups are gone. Yep. My entire community is gone. Yep. But on the blog, on your email, you own that. You have control over what goes on there. Forget the algorithms. That's your space.
Yep. No, I love it. Now let's talk about, you're able to then, because you were doing affiliate marketing. Now, was affiliate marketing for you in the beginning, was it strictly like Amazon? Did you start with Amazon as an associate, for them, starting to kind of, get the product sales through that?
For my own products or as a blog?
As a blog, like where were you starting to get, because you mentioned that you started to look at affiliate sales, from monetization standpoint. Was Amazon one of the first that you started to drop links in for, that when you were, referring a product?
It wasn't in the beginning. There were other smaller networks. I don't know if you
Okay.
want me to mention them, but they, when I found Amazon, Amazon just destroyed everything else.
Mm,
And that was one of the first little, the strategic moves I made, was to stop using the affiliate networks that weren't actually giving me commission,
mm,
then and actually going to the ones that were.
mm,
Plus, people like Amazon. They trust Amazon. They shop on Amazon. And as an Amazon associate, if someone buys my recommendation or not, I can still have the opportunity to earn commission, not just on that product they buy, but on everything in that shopping cart.
right.
So I quickly saw how lucrative that opportunity was,
Mm,
from even without physical products, just from my blog, because getting to see what people were buying, I knew, one, were there products that they were buying that I wasn't talking about.
mm,
So it was a really interesting insight into the readers. So I
mm,
was able then to buy the products and then test them out myself and go like, oh wow, this is a good product. Why am I not featuring it? Then I can write a review about it, or then I can include it in the product set to begin with.
mm.
But yeah, Amazon's massive. Sorry, just went
No,
off.
no, no, no. It's awesome. And I was kind of leading into, so you have this intelligence now by looking at seeing what people are buying, what people, are interested in, by you looking at the numbers. And even though the numbers, to some people is like, well, depending on how many you're selling, 4 to 8% ish, somewhere in that range. Okay. But, I mean, you shared, I'm not going to share it here, but you shared a huge number, and you were thinking about like, maybe I should start selling those. Like, you're talking a 6-figure number, and you're like, I don't know. And, we had some, some thoughts on that, but you got your idea for your physical product by looking at your data and then saying like, maybe I should create my own. And I've talked a lot about that in the past, of being able to have that at your disposal. You've done it, you executed it, and now you have another extension of your business in the physical product world. I want to talk about that, and we want to talk about the Facebook Live that you did, which is insane. So yeah, let's start with the, looking at the data and then deciding that like you wanted to kind of go for it.
So the data is really interesting, and what we do is what we were doing with a lot of our higher trafficked articles, we were using unique tracking IDs. So we started tracking those IDs, and we would see then what people were purchasing on that one blog post.
Mm.
So on that one blog post, we could then optimize as an affiliate for the stuff that people were buying on the website.
Okay.
But then when we are starting to think about the physical products, well, we were also able to see, wow, we're selling a lot of this one product. Why aren't we selling our own?
Mm.
And despite the fact, and this is one of the biggest lessons that I learned as starting with physical products, that people told me that the products that I wanted to launch were too competitive.
Mm.
They said that they were not right for Amazon and they would not work. So I try to find partners, actually, people that were already selling on Amazon, because I don't want to learn about manufacturing and do that, go through everything. I did it once before, and I already knew I didn't like manufacturing.
Yeah.
But I tried to find someone, for example, like you, to partner with, and I got turned down because the products were not correct for Amazon per se.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really glad I didn't listen to those people, and I just kept on going myself, because I chose the products based on my data, based on my own data, not, an Amazon third-party app.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I knew that was selling on my website. I could see the numbers. I knew how many we were selling per day, per year, what colors, and I knew which ones were being returned. So I knew that if those may be high selling, but if there's big returns, not a good product. Right. So I had really unique insight into everything. So that's how we decided to go with a couple of we have 3 products right now, but 2 of those products are based predominantly on data.
Mm. Yeah. And again, it's for you, like, to have that insight and being able to say, all I really need to do now is on those blog posts is kind of like transfer out that product and make it my own. Now there's people also, and I've actually looked into this myself, just the opportunity wasn't there, but I thought about buying a blog that someone was just monetizing with AdSense or with, an ad network, making $4,000 or $5,000 a month. But I could look at the data and go, well, if I turn that into my own product, I could take 5,000, make it 15. That's a good deal. And that's kind of what you've done with your own blog, and it's worked out pretty well for you. And it's in a competitive market, which for you, you've got the base, right? You've got the reach, you've got the traffic, you've got all the signs that say you can do this. Because if all I'm going to do now is launch that on there, I have to use all the black hat strategies, gray hat strategies to try to drive sales and all this stuff. You don't have to do that. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you really spend on pay-per-click either.
I don't do any pay-per-click. I don't really do any paid advertising at all. I hardly do any advertising at all, actually, just because I think you're your own worst salesperson. But we're doing well, and the products are selling, and without much effort on my end, and it's really now becoming passive income. True passive income, where it's just kind of rolling, and we just kind of came to the conclusion that we are in a competitive space, and could we try to game the system? We could, but do we want to? Not really, especially because two of the products are so competitive. It's unreal. So the amount of money that we were going to spend to try to get to the top. And then we also have our products are more expensive than the products on Amazon. So it was kind of hard to try to get people to buy ours when they could buy somebody else's for half the price. But why are ours more expensive? Well, they're premium. They actually have I wanted to make sure the products I was selling were going to be if not better than the one I've been using, as good, or if not better. And in this case, I feel like we did better, and we went in. So it's kind of a premium product, not luxury, but premium product. Sure. And we're selling, and we are getting organic sales on Amazon. And it's been nice that we could just do that. And now literally, like you said, we've got so much data that we can, in just about any genre, we can go and just flip a switch on our posts, and we're no longer selling a competitor, for example. We're now just selling our own. So right. all of that, we were collecting affiliate revenue for another brand. Well, now we're just collecting that revenue full for ourselves, and that brand's off the website.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I just want people to understand too, that if all you're doing is going to Amazon, looking at maybe Jungle Scout or the data, right? And you're going, oh, you know what? I'm just going to sell that product because it's got great numbers. There's someone like Alex right now that's selling that product that you're not going to be able to compete with directly just on Amazon. It's going to be outside of Amazon. That's going to be the long-term play. And if you're not building that, you're really at risk, I believe, because this is the way to do it. Sure, there was the gold rush 2 years ago that you could kind of do that. It's kind of over with. It's kind of like Google, right? You could game Google for a little while and then they catch on and then it becomes harder. This is the long play. And I do believe that if you put in the work, you can get there and then you can launch those products. Let's talk about the Facebook Live that blew up in a good way. And let's just kind of walk people through that, because we talk, a lot of people say, Scott, how do I launch my product? You launch it to an audience or to people that you've got to raise their hand that are interested in your product, that are willing to buy because you know that they're interested. You, on the other hand, had a really warm audience because they know, like, and trust you already. Take us through what happened, what your plan was, and then kind of the results from that.
Well, it took me 3 years to actually finally get the prototype and the manufacturer that I wanted for my product. But you got funnels, you've got Kickstarter, you've got all these strategies that you have, what you should do, of what's the correct way to go about it. And I was just overwhelmed, and I just got so tired of trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. And I just said, screw it. I'm just going to just go up and sell it and see what happens, just to see, will people buy it? So I sent out an email blast. I think I had like maybe 30,000 people at the time on my list, maybe 25,000. Okay. I'd cleaned it up. And I just sent an email blast and said, hey, next week I'm going to do a Facebook Live. I have a big announcement. Tune in. On that Facebook Live, I announced my product, and I pre-sold between that 60-minute Facebook Live and 3 total emails. I barely even announced it on my blog, which of course is silly. But again, you're your own worst salesperson. And I pre-sold $17,000 for my first product on just with that minimal effort, really. And that was all the confirmation I needed. I knew that it was going to work, and I was able to take the money, and I didn't have to risk any money out of my pocket and, make that first order. So from that, we had we pre-sold the product. We had reviews, we had fans, we had social media, we had a whole story behind behind the brand. And then we took that story on to Amazon, where people that didn't get a chance to buy the first round, we already had buyers ready to go as soon as we were on Amazon.
Right. That is so awesome to be able to like send out a couple emails. You're going to go Facebook Live, and then you pre-sell 17,000 to basically help fund that. Let me ask you this, because a lot of people think like big numbers, like, oh, you got to have a huge amount. And I'm just curious. I've never asked you this question, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. How many people were there live? Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't have many people, and like, I find it like later it makes a difference, but like, so like what kind of numbers are we looking at? Are we looking like thousands? Like how many people are there that are tuning in?
Generally speaking, on an average Facebook Live, I get about, let's say 50 on the spot live.
Yep.
Like we used to like the little number.
Yep.
That time, I think it went up to 200 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the impressions were in the thousands and comments were in hundreds, but live at a time it was 200. On my Facebook, I think I had maybe 55,000, 60,000 fans.
Mm-hmm. And then that email, when that got sent out, did you send one out saying, I'm going live? And then you kind of let people know. So it's kind of like for us, like webinars or workshops or whatever that you do, you kind of give that little bit of a, we're going to be going live. Here's another reminder. We're going. Did you let people know like that?
Yes, I did one final reminder before I went. So I treat my Facebook Lives very much like live webinars.
Okay, cool. No, that's awesome. And because again, 200 people, a lot of people in a room. If you put 200 people in a room, it's a lot of people, but really on the grand scheme of things, people look at these, sometimes vanity numbers like, oh, you've got 200,000. I can't do that. They're special. But guys, we're talking 200 people. Like, and I'm not saying that, there's more people that watched it after the fact. If there was 200 there was probably thousands after the fact. That's how Facebook works. That's why I always tell people, show up live. I don't care if there's one or two people, you're going to get the after effect once it kind of has time to kind of work and people are starting to see it.
Well, the thing with Facebook Live, and one of the things that I do is I also create an event. Because then Facebook notifies the people that have signed up. I asked them, RSVP for the Facebook Live here, because then Facebook will notify them when your Facebook Live is coming up, when you are live, and when it's going on. So I think I did have more than 200 people there at the time, but it doesn't matter because it just depends on what you're selling. I think people have sold with much smaller audiences, or just with an email list of 500. And I'm sure, I probably with the numbers should have been able to go have more, if I would have had a proper funnel and plans and huge sales thing, but I didn't. So I kind of feel like with me, it was more of the minimal effort. So imagine if you have a smaller audience, but you really implement a very strong strategy.
So, okay. You get on the I was going to call it a webinar. You get on the Facebook Live. How does that go? Like what, hey guys, Alex here, got a product for sale. You want to buy it, pre-buy? Like what was your sales pitch in a sense, or your explanation as far as like what you're doing, and like, kind of lead me through that. I'm curious anyway. I just want to know this personally. Everyone else can listen in, but I'm curious.
I think I did kind of, I had recently been to a conference in London and heard about someone speak about sales. And so I decided to formulate my Facebook Live based on his formula, which is essentially start with a story, kind of have a pain point or something where you're resonating with your audience, and then move into the why, the how, the pitch, and close it and whatnot. And that's exactly how I started my Facebook Live. And it started with a genuine story and just went right in. And with my Facebook Lives, that's always what I do. Charlene Johnson, I use her Facebook Live strategies, which is just go on and start. And I don't stop in my Facebook Live. I do treat it as a webinar. So I go on. I'm going to be revealing today something I haven't shared with anybody else. Make sure to stay through the end because you're going to find this out, and I dive right in. I don't really take questions. Because one of the things I do with Facebook Live is that I actually also save it so then I can repurpose it for YouTube. And man, I haven't told you about that strategy actually, but
we got good stuff here, guys. I'm learning too.
But I'm actually shocked. I was repurposing. I usually do a 30 to 60 minute Facebook Live, and I had hired a video editor to bring it down to a YouTube best practice time, between 5 to 15 minutes tops.
Okay.
Well, I decided I knew that was one topic that was particularly good, and I said, you know what? Let's not cut anything. Let's leave it at 30 minutes, whatever. That's been it's had massive views. I've
Great.
gotten so many followers from it. Because it was a big topic, 30 minutes, people sat there for the YouTube video. You're not supposed to have a YouTube video that long. And it worked. So that's something I didn't realize for the Facebook Lives. I didn't have to actually overthink it. I could literally just throw my logo in the beginning and the end, throw them straight onto YouTube practically, and they're good to go. Because again, it's the why. Why are you doing something? Well, on YouTube, I'm giving my audience a different way to digest my information. The Instagram audience, Facebook, and YouTube, they're all very different. They're not talking to the same person. So someone that's not on Facebook, maybe they'll want to watch a video, but they'll want to watch it on YouTube. It's also an age demographic as well. So my, younger, like my audience under 35 is on Instagram. So I have to be able to have the same Facebook Live. I then repurpose it in the different channels as well. But yeah, sorry, that was just like a random thing that happened recently where I published one of the most popular Facebook Lives and publish the whole thing without editing, and it just did massive on YouTube.
That's fantastic. Did you push any traffic over to the YouTube, or did you just post it and let it go?
Well, one of the best practices I did here was that you have to share it on your newsletter or Facebook channel or whatever within the first 24 hours to give it a boost. So then we started doing that, and that's been really helpful as well, actually.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're repurposing something that's already there, and I think that's also. So, are you thinking about that while you're doing your Facebook Live now, that you're not going to be like, hey, give me a like on Facebook or this, or do you just kind of keep it tight and clean without making those remarks, or do you kind of service both platforms?
I just say, give me a like or leave me a comment below, because that works for Facebook or for YouTube.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So I try to keep it and to be honest with you, again, I'm not really on YouTube to try to find new people. I'm, again, just giving my existing audience who may not be on Facebook or may not even know, sometimes you think, and that's another thing with the email list, one email blast, one Facebook Live, or two people are there. You might have more people that want to hear what you have to say, but they may have missed it because Facebook didn't show them, there's a million things going on in your news feed, on Instagram, on wherever in your day. So showing someone something just once isn't enough. If you put it everywhere, then they might catch it in a different place. So yeah, so I'm really happy. But again, I do a Facebook Live without stopping, like if it's a webinar, I treat it as such. So I go in and also everything's very general. And if there's any questions in the comments, I won't say anything about that. I'll just find it. I'll look at it and then I'll answer the question naturally as if it's part of my webinar, essentially.
Gotcha. Oh, that's smart. That's awesome. All right, let's wrap this up. I want you to help someone right now that's thinking to themselves, man, she's just miles ahead of me, like light years ahead of me. I could never get started. Like, what would you recommend to someone that you met at a coffee shop? You guys hit it off. You're having a conversation and they're like, how do I do what you do? Like, how do I get traffic? How do I, what do I do? Like, what's first steps?
I think it's so much easier now because there's so much information on how to do it. If I would start the business now with all the information, courses and resources there are online, and I was approaching it from a business standpoint with the very clear monetary objective from day one, I'd be able to get to where I am much faster. And the personal thing that I feel is really help me get through, whether it's been physical products or the blog, is to listen to what people are not, to listen to advice and to listen to best practices, but ultimately do what's right for you. Yes, you should be on social media platforms, but do you actually have to be there? Having a presence, having just, your brand versus spreading yourself thin across all of them. You don't have to. It's 80-20. Where am I going to get the most impact? For me, making that decision, when I decided to focus like that, it's made all the difference in the world. It's being very strategic. It's all about strategy. And one of the things that people always say is read the book Traction, because it really just helps you think about things when you're starting out. It makes it more digestible because you have so many ideas, you want to accomplish so much. And instead of running around like a headless chicken like I did the first couple of years, you can go into it, read Traction, get your goals in order, read Scott's website, look at his information, his course, his books, his everything, and then then taking those things and implementing them in a very strategic way, you're going to be able to fast forward your way there. But also you have to be realistic. Everybody thinks just because you're doing something online, and then people are making money off of it, it's supposed to be easy. But in reality, if you're expecting someone to give you money, if you're expecting to make a living off of doing something online, then hello, it's a job. Yep. So it doesn't mean it's just going to magically happen overnight. Traditionally, in traditional businesses take 3 years before they even break a profit. And people give up in 6 months if their business doesn't profit, when that's not reality. However, with an online business, you have the opportunity where you can actually succeed much faster because you don't have as much overhead. So don't give up, and also be realistic about what you actually want to do. This is a job. This is not a free ride. So if you're looking for a free ride, then you're buy a lottery ticket.
Or go get a 9-to-5.
Or go get a 9-to-5. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think you would agree too, right? It's like, it is work. It does take time. It does take, and I don't even like to call them failures, just like more things that you do that don't necessarily turn out the way that they were supposed to. And then you just learn from those, right? But it's constantly getting up, dusting off, and going and asking the right questions, but also understanding that, and you've heard this, I know, it's like, us entrepreneurs, we work 80 hours a week so we don't have to work 40 for someone else. And it's so true, right? But it is the freedom of being able to say, yeah, I'm going to work late at night so I can go watch my kid's baseball game or whatever, right? Like, those are the choices that you can do, because online is always, so we can do that work at night. We don't have to do it at a certain time. So exactly. I did actually read that book too, Traction. It's a good book. I'll link everything up in the show notes. It's a good book. But yeah, so again, guys, I just wanted to invite Alex on because I think she's a huge inspiration to all of us that are out there looking to create a lifestyle business. She's truly created a lifestyle business that allows her and her husband to, which we haven't even talked about Harry. We're going to have to talk about him on the next episode. We're going to get him on next time, and we're going to talk about numbers and stuff, and really about how to probably leverage, because I think that's what you said. Like, he's really good at like that side of the business. Like, actually, what is Harry good at in the business? Like, what is his expertise?
His expertise is being logical.
That's a big one, though.
He's being really practical. I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that that he's sort of the operations, like COO, operations guy, and I'm sort of the bigger picture and like, we're going to do this and this is going to be great. And he's like, okay, well, how are we actually going to accomplish that? So.
We all need a Harry, because let me tell you something. The funny joke here is that myself and Chris Schaefer, who's a partner of mine, we like to run through walls and then say, can you guys clean that up? Because we're not really quite sure how to fix that, but we just ran through a wall to get it done. We have the vision, we have the ideas, and we do need people that go, wait a minute, that's great, but let's do this, because this is where we're supposed to be headed, and let's figure out how we're going to get there. But yeah, we're definitely gonna have to have Harry on for sure. And I want to hear his take on a lot of this as well. I know you guys met backpacking, correct?
We met in 2010 when we were traveling. And that's been a part of the business. And that was my original why, is to try to find an online business so I didn't have to worry about my US passport working illegally in the UK. So I was able to work from anywhere in the world. Because he's from England, so we can't work in the same, until we're married, we couldn't work in the same country. So that was a big part of the why as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, Alex, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We are definitely going to have you back on if you are willing, because you just have so much knowledge, so much information, and so much spark. I love the spark that you have, Alex, and that everyone that you seem to be around, you kind of give them that energy. And I think that's important because the people that you hang around with are a lot of times the people that you are going to kind of be like. And I think it's a huge part of that. And I'm honored and thankful that we were able to get to know each other a little bit more over the past year. And I know that we'll be connecting in the future. So thank you so much. If anyone wants to learn more about you and what you're up to, how would they do that?
They can find out about me, my website, on travelfashiongirl.com. Also, we're Travel Fashion Girl on all the social channels. So look forward to seeing you guys following me.
No, I'm telling you what, follow Alex just to see how awesome it is to travel, because you're always traveling. That's to travel fashion girl. Get it? So Alex, thank you so much. Tell Harry I said hello, and we're going to get him back on. We're going to get you back on with Harry the next time. So that way we can hear also how you guys work together. Because a lot of people want to know, how do spouses work together? And I've done that myself and it's sometimes challenging, but you can do it for sure. So Alex, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and have an awesome day.
Thank you, Scott. Loved being on here. Thanks again for having me, and I can't wait to be back.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for watching that interview. Hopefully you got a ton of value. And I would love to ask you, is there one thing that you took away from that episode? Like, what is one thing that you were like, yes, I get it, or yes, I'm gonna do that? I'd love to hear, and if you can do that, drop it in the comments down below. The other thing that I'd like to ask you is, if you have a guest that you'd like to see me interview for an upcoming show, let me know that as well. I'm always looking for new and really exciting guests to help us build our brands. And if you can do that, that would be amazing. All right, guys, that's it. That's gonna wrap it up. As always, take care, take action, and I'll talk to you soon.